Record. Hey everyone, welcome to a brand new Level Up Together. This week we are starting our book club. Let's see, let me share my screen. Hold on. Just a second. I need to put in the present mode. Present. Okay. Okay. Yes. So today's topic is we're starting our new book club and we'll be reading Monsters and Magical Sticks. Hey Susan, welcome. We're just getting started. All right, I'm recording this meeting. I'll see how our insights and talks go. So by being here, you're giving me the permission to be recorded, and these recordings will be and may be shared in the level one groups and other groups in Utaptics via YouTube. I'm a level four practitioner. I'm here as your host, and all our insights, our experiences, examples, and talks are valuable resources for all the participants and viewers. So thank you for being here. And together we are creating a mutual space for learning and growth. And with that said, let's get started. So I got my book in front of me and let's see. I'm thinking we can just skip right to the chapter one. What do you guys say?
I think so.
Yeah, I can just skip the introduction and everything. Whoever would
Yeah.
like to read that, they can read it on their own. So I got page number 23, chapter one. Who would like to read? I was thinking we can just kind of read and if read one section at a time and any insights come in, you can stop, of course, in the middle and we can discuss and talk.
So
We
how,
can
how
just
much do you want to read?
I was thinking we can just read one section at a time. So like the section says hypnosis, the first step, and then it goes,
Oh, I see it now, what you're talking about.
yeah. Or if you want to read one paragraph, that's okay too. However it is.
I like the sections better.
Let's do it. Would you
Okay.
like to read it, Sherry?
Sure.
Okay.
There's no such thing as hypnosis. May appear to be a strange subtitle for a book written by a man who has been in the field of clinical hypnosis for many years. The title is sure to displease those who firmly believe that hypnosis exists, and the book itself will displease those who firmly believe that hypnosis does not exist. I firmly believe that hypnosis is just a state south of Oregon and north of Washington, and it doesn't really exist except in people's minds. Paul Waltzowicz, in his excellent book, The Language of Change, states, there's no such thing as piano playing. I've tried it several times and nothing came of it. One major problem in discussing or writing about the process of hypnosis is that through the years, so many definitions of what hypnosis is or is not have been hooked into the word itself that people have preconceived notions and ideas. It might be said that they have been hypnotized into believing whatever it is they believe about hypnosis. It is not the purpose of this book to give an academic definition of hypnosis. There are many fine tests and case books that do an excellent job of giving several different and conflicting definitions of hypnosis. These definitions people are free to reject or not accept as they see fit. If, however, hypnosis means a special state in which a person is put into some deep mystical state and then loses volition over their being because another person, called a hypnotist, creates such a powerful, overwhelming suggestion that the victim or subject is helpless to resist, then there's no such thing as hypnosis. If that power existed, I would not be writing this book nor working at my profession. I would simply walk into any large corporation and cause the chief executive officer to give me the business. If, however, we consider hypnosis as a generic term that encompasses all forms of altered consciousness and do not consider hypnosis as a mystical state, we may then get a more clear picture that feels more comfortable. To further illustrate the use of the word hypnosis as a generic term that encompasses many states, let us consider a state called sleep. We recognize there is light sleep, deep sleep, REM sleep, restless sleep, etc. However, all of these are contained under the category called sleep. Experts still argue over just what produces sleep and why people sleep in so many ways, but no one denies the existence of the sleep state. If you will picture a horizontal line and think of one end as conscious awareness and the other as sleep, you then can envision and grasp the many gradients between these two opposite points. You might accept hypnosis as an area between these two poles at which an individual's awareness of his surroundings are diminished, while an awareness of internal processes, feelings, and thoughts and pictures are increased. Another simile for hypnosis can be found in electricity. We all know that electricity exists, and yet the experts still argue over what electricity really is. The only generally accepted notion is that electricity is a form of energy. You may consider hypnotic technique as a group of methods for the production of a different form of energy in the brain, and the hypnotic state a conduit for directing that energy toward the accomplishment of goals.
You Sherry.
Wow.
Would you like to share anything on that? Hey, everyone, welcome.
Yeah, I have had to really wrap my mind around a more accurate definition of hypnosis. Coming into this, I thought it was just simply, the guy on the stage getting people to do what they didn't want to do. That was my very limited view of hypnosis. So it's taking me a long time to broaden that and accept what the couple of paragraphs that I just read. And I really like using the analogy of sleep or electricity or just going into this, opening my mind and getting a better grasp of what it really is to use in our faster EFT system. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Yes, thank you. Anyone else would like to share? We are just reading the chapter 1, the first section. Hey, Susan.
Hey, I like to think of it like when we're driving, and before we know it, we've arrived at our destination, and it's like, how did I get here? I don't remember, the stops, the turns, and it's just all of a sudden we're there with no recollection of that time that passed.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. I like that too. Yeah. Otherwise, life would be like just so, I don't know. We'll be driving and stopping in every little second, so it's like an automatic process of the brain anyway to be in that trance. So we don't have to, we can kind of be somewhere else too in the brain. I don't know. Yeah. Anyone else would like to share anything?
El licuado y el jugo, por favor. Buenos días. Gracias.
Well, I think since we're in a trance anyway, we might as well direct it trance with hypnosis.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I like the whole that the individual's awareness of his surroundings are diminished, while awareness of internal processes, feelings, thoughts, and pictures are increased. Because, it's like we are all the time in the trance, like, somebody's talking about something, we are making our own pictures, we are getting our insights from somewhere else. So it's all very interesting. I'd like to read the next section, hypnosis as communication.
What page is that?
Sasha, we are on page 24. And I love your picture. Thanks for sharing that picture.
Thanks.
Sasha was talking about her alligator experience last week, so it was lovely to see the picture. All right. Anybody would like to read the next section? If not, I can. Dean, did you raise your hand?
I can read. That's
Good.
okay. Okay, hypnosis as communication. Included in our definition of hypnosis is any form of communication in which a person or persons, whether a hypnotist, wife, husband, teacher, or uses words, tonality, expressions, or movement that elicit and or evoke within another person an internal experience, and that experience becomes a reality of its own. For example, if I write or speak the word rose, you might think of a particular flower, perhaps red in color. I could mean a person named Rose, and someone else might remember someone getting up. Okay. If I change the meaning to a beautiful red rose, one person might remember a special occasion, the feelings, sounds, pictures, smells, and in effect will relive the entire experience. Yet another person might make a terrible face because they are allergic to roses. I can remember an incident during which I was having a conversation with a lovely woman, and another woman came to join us. I suddenly found myself feeling about 4 years old, seeing an aunt who to me was, okay, I don't know that word, gar gargantuan. I don't know.
Huge.
I'm
Yes.
sorry. I felt the fear of being overpowered by her size and saw her in a polka dot dress. After a moment, I shook my head and returned to the present to realize that the second woman's perfume reminded me of my aunt's perfume. The smell alone regressed me to that childhood experience. There's no such thing as hypnosis, and you need a deep trance and powerful suggestions to produce regression. Really? One technique of so-called traditional hypnosis is called negative hallucination. This is produced by putting someone in a hypnotic state and suggesting, for example, that they will not see or hear some person or object. A so-called good subject would come out of trance and not see or hear as suggested. How many times have you called your children for dinner and they have responded by not responding? An individual comes to your office stating, I can't make a decision, it's just impossible. That too is a negative hallucination. That individual decided to seek you out, decided what route to take, and decided to enter into a transaction with you. Or take the individual who states, everybody hates me, they always have. Obviously, he or she has lived to tell their tale. Someone, in all probability, cared for and helped him or her. But she or he has excluded that portion of history from his or her reality. Just because someone makes a face at you, it doesn't mean that they're not constipated. Again, there's no such thing as hypnosis. Or perhaps it's all hypnosis.
Thank you, Trine. Would you like to share anything on that?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to see it this way, that it's all a hypnosis, and it all depends on what we have in our mind when we experience something new. Then we draw from our earlier experiences. So yeah.
Yeah, every time, for me, like just the experience, like if somebody's reading something, I am making a pictures in my head. I am creating situations from my own experience. I'm going into my own trance. So like we're always in the hypnosis of something or the other. And I also like the part that says like the in the first paragraph, like evoking within another person an internal experience. So like just by saying something, we are evoking an internal experience in somebody else. And if somebody reacts to that internal experience, that's their own internal experience, just like we do in Utaptics, you know. So everyone is coming from their own perceptions based on their own internal experiences. Anyone else would like to share? Hey, Tammy, we're on page 25 in Monsters and Magical Sticks.
I need to find my book.
Yes.
But I heard it's all hypnosis, so it's very interesting, isn't it?
It is. No, anyone else have any insight? Sherry?
Yeah, I think we all have a tendency to put our reality out there and just assume other people have that same perception and reality. And it doesn't occur to us that theirs is totally different, because that's my experience. Oh, that must be yours too. Yeah. And I'm trying to make myself more aware of that. We project that. Well, they won't do that because you wouldn't do that.
Right. Totally. I'm seeing it as like our own reality, our own trance becomes the real thing. Like this is the right thing to do, and we feel like we are in the right. But just assuming it as like everyone on the earth, 7-8 billion people are walking around in their own trance. Like everyone is in their own trance, and so that I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, assuming that somebody else is in the same trance or should be in the same trance as us, it's kind of reaching way out. Yeah, that was so interesting.
And the
Tammy?
interesting thing is, the further into the levels you get, the more that you look at people as like, oh, interesting. That's what you learned, instead of feeling like a judgment of them. I think there's a lot of freedom when like, I didn't know that I was judging. It was just constant all the time, right? If someone would have said you're judging people by thinking this all the time, I would have been like, no, I'm not. But you didn't even know it, because the world hadn't opened up, that like they're just operating from their own system of learnings. How did they learn it? What did they learn? So it becomes fascinating then when somebody has an emotion over a scenario, when you kind of like stand back almost and you're like, oh, what is this coming from? That's their hypnosis. So there's so much freedom in seeing it that way. I think, Tristy, to see like, to just get curious about their hypnosis instead of feeling like it's something I did or something bad about them or anything like that.
Yes, definitely. And it's so easy to fall into that. Hey, Sherry.
Okay. Well, I must be dumb as dirt because I don't quite get this. So what he's saying is that we're all in hypnosis. I mean, that would really be freaky if I thought everybody in the whole world was walking around in a trance. I guess maybe they are. I don't know. I'll have to think on that. I'm not sure I'm buying into this yet, but we'll see. Don't fire me. Don't kick me out. But I'm like, what? I mean, all these things, yeah, okay, I get that, but I just don't. When perhaps there's no, I don't believe that I do believe there's hypnosis. I believe that, but I don't think it's all hypnosis. I mean, gosh, wow. I don't know.
So
That's
the previous paragraph is like there's it says basically like when you're not completely 100% in the present moment, like we're not making a pictures, we're not hearing, whatever. If you're completely in the 100% in the present moment, we're not in the trance. But
okay.
when it says like consider this line, one side is complete awareness, complete present moment, and the other side of the line is sleep. All the states in between are some form of hypnosis.
So when I
So
sit down at the piano and just start to play, is that hypnosis? I mean, I don't know. I guess it is because I mean, I don't have to go, oh, well, put my hands. I mean, I just do it. So on all those things, that's hypnosis then. Okay,
yes.
capisco. Grazie. Okay.
Susan?
Yeah, I would even say, I mean, along those lines too, culturally, like we will reach out our hand for a handshake, and without even thinking, we will shake the other person's hand. We have to think, no, I don't want to shake your hand. Or in another culture, bowing, or whatever you do in your own family dynamic, you go to a friend's or parent's house, you greet them in the way that you always do. It's a programming without thinking about it. So it's a hypnosis, if I have that right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anything that's
And also
programmed.
any subconscious behavior, right? Like they're saying 95 to 98% is subconscious. I'm moving my hands, I'm moving my mouth, my teeth, my tongue, all of that stuff I learned is hypnosis, right? I don't think about it. It's not like I'm going, okay, I'm going to lift my tongue and push it back and vibrate my vocals.
So a baby's not
No.
in hypnosis yet from that,
That's where they
Tammy.
learn, right?
They're not in hypnosis. We get hypnotized as we go with our learning, putting all those pieces together.
Hmm,
Interesting. So
that's
interesting.
probably accurate. Up until the age of 7, everything gets pretty solidified by then.
And we are all, like Robert says, right? We are always learning. We're always
Yeah.
collecting imprints and learning. But yeah, until then, we're like really soaking it up.
Do you think a habit would be a
A
hypnotic?
habit. Yes, definitely. So like the habit, any habit, the more we do it, the more it becomes automatic. In the beginning, we have to like, oh, I have to remember to do that. I have to remember to do that. Then we are consciously, or like learning to drive the car. Now it's a habit. We are habitual of changing gears, driving, pushing gas, brakes, etc., clutch, all that stuff. But yeah, habit is the hypnotic state. Yeah. Waking up thoughts, that's a habit. Like what kind of thoughts do we have? And that's a hypnotic state. We wake up and we won't go into the hypnotic state. So interesting. Sherry Neal, does that answer your question somewhat?
Sì, così, English. Yes, somewhat, yes. Okay.
You are in hypnosis. Speaking a different language.
Well, maybe. Vedremo. I don't know.
That's cute.
All right. Who would like to read the next section, which is, I guess
I'll
we're on
read.
a flat world, right? Hey, Sherry. Yes, please.
Okay, let me do my duty. Once upon a time, people believed that the world was flat. They were told this by people in authority. As a result, they built their whole world predicated on staying within the confines of a flat world. If we restrict ourselves to the old definitions of hypnosis, then we are experiencing a flat world. Our world becomes round when we step back, see and hear that so-called hypnotic phenomenon occur all around us without the need of a trance. Someone says to you, I can't be successful, I always fail. Yet they know how to walk, they know how to talk, they know how to do those things and more successfully. We're talking about a belief system, a suggestion or suggestions that may have been accepted and acted upon even at the expense of distorting reality. To recap, if you consider hypnosis as a specific state that always includes a deep trance, then there's no such thing as hypnosis. Oh, okay. If, however, you use hypnosis as a generic term to encompass anything that alters perception or changes consciousness, then you can realize that hypnosis is just a word. Within that word are things like meditation, fantasy, guided imagery, deep muscle relaxation, anything that encourages or precipitates a person's turning inward and having an inner experience that becomes more profound or more important than the outer consensual reality. Since we all live in the same world and we have more or less the same opportunities, it is sad that people use this thing that doesn't exist to convince themselves that their choices do not exist. Hopefully, this book will help you become aware of how to use these same methods differently, to take the same techniques a person uses to build limits and use those techniques to build new choices and new horizons.
All right.
Well, this was very interesting. Yeah. Again, this is something that I'll just really have to think upon and kind of give myself hypnosis, I guess, to get a deep trance to get this. Yeah, but it does make sense what they're saying. I mean, it's so this, I will have to sleep with this for a minute. Not right this minute, but
Yes.
you know, momentarily. So yeah.
Right. Anything that alters perception, changes consciousness. Yeah. Anybody says a word and that changes our perception or puts us into something from the past. We're not completely present. We're going into hypnosis of our past. Like, somebody says something and we're going into the hypnosis of our past. And that's hypnosis. So I don't know if you all have, but and forgive me if anybody else here also is in that hypnosis, but since they talk about flat earth, we have this guy lives close to us, he's a flat earther, and he walks around in his big black truck and he has NASA as a hoax, flat earth, all that stuff. So it's interesting, the hypnosis, he's in a hypnosis that the earth is flat. We're in a hypnosis that the earth is round. Who knows what the real truth is, but it's all a hypnosis. So yeah, I find it interesting how we believe what we believe. Hey, Tammy.
And part of the hypnosis is the way an emotion shows up when you say a word. Like, I thought it was interesting that he talked about words because, somebody could call you a certain name and you might laugh at it and think that's hilarious. And if it was a different name, it would all of a sudden put you in this, angry state. So the words, I don't know if the words themselves are hypnosis or if it's the trigger to the emotion that all of a sudden you're in an old emotion, in an old story and an old reaction. That's hypnosis. And
Totally.
And how words are almost, well, I think there's a book like called Words Are Spells or something like that, but just certain words bug you or certain words you love, and all hypnosis.
Yeah, the words are just the trigger to put us into a hypnosis of some place. Hey, Susan.
Yeah, triggers or anchors, to that emotional state. Yeah.
Right, totally. Yeah, so interesting. Sherry?
I think you could think of your hypnosis state as a limiting belief. For example, you could say, well, a 75-year-old person can't run a marathon. But if one 75-year-old person runs a 5K, that means you can at 75. It just wipes that all out. Any belief system here, and we could take that at any level. I can't make money beyond this level, but other people are. And so that means you could. So I think we have to challenge all of our limiting beliefs. And just know if one person does it, then you are in the human race and you could do it too.
Exactly. Yes. And then as soon as that 75-year-old runs the marathon, there will be lots of other ones showing up. And I'm sure it has happened.
Yeah.
There was that 4K mile or 4-minute mile record.
Yes.
Nobody thought that you could break it. And then one person did it. And there's after that, one after the other, it was so many people doing it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And we didn't even know we were in that hypnosis until somebody broke it.
I guess we could think of that. What hypnotic states of mind do I need to break?
What are the unlimited possibilities?
Mhm.
Yes.
My limiting beliefs.
Yes, definitely. All right. Who would like? We are on the chapter 2, metaphor. Who would like to read?
I'll read if it's
Read it? Yes, go for it, Susan. Thank
okay.
you.
Illusions, Las Vegas, Nevada. The lights are bright, a feeling of excitement hangs in the air. A young couple on their first trip looking forward to learning and playing blackjack walk into a beautiful casino. They see a player sitting at a blackjack table with thousands of dollars and $100 chips. They watch and listen with fascination. The player is betting $300 or $400 a hand, winning and losing. They study the player's method, see his playing style until they grasp it all, knowing with that much money in front of him, he has to be an expert. They take their limited funds, sit down, play, and lose everything. They then decide there must be something wrong with them if copying an expert leads to such failure. If only they would talk to the casino manager, they might learn that the expert is really the pizza king of Chicago. He knows everything about pizza and nothing about blackjack. He has enough money to buy large sums of chips, and appearances are deceiving. Even a monkey will get dealt a winning hand from time to time. The couple's mistake was to assume based on appearances. Once upon a time, there was a little boy and girl who heard some adults use big words and saw them do amazing things, drive a car, vote, fight, and much more. The little boy and girl assumed that since they knew such things, they must be experts at life and parenting. The little boy and girl set out to copy the adults only to suffer pain and frustration. Those adults were experts at pizza, but the children were too small to look beyond appearances.
Thank you. Any insights on that, Susan?
Yes, everything looks different when you're a kid, and appearances are very deceiving, even as an adult. It looks this way, but until you pull back the curtain and peek back there and see what's really happening, it can be so totally different. It could be accurate, but it could be just totally opposite.
Yeah. How many times we followed along, or just how long, we kind of did the same thing as mom and dad or somebody else we saw on TV, a movie star, I don't know. And we lived our life like that. And we were just kind of thought that was the way to live life. Yeah.
Don't you think we
Anyone
do?
else?
Yeah, don't you think we do that a lot, assuming we know what the other person is thinking? And so we start talking and acting, and they are not thinking that at all. So it's best
Definitely.
to be in the habit of checking that out.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Anyone else? Illusions. All right. I would like to read the next section, rose bushes. I like this one. It's interesting. Tammy,
I
you got your
can. I
book.
found my. I did. It's a bit used, but I found it. Once upon a time, there were two little rose bushes named Judy and Jim. These rose bushes were comfortable in a nursery when two people came in and took Judy, claiming they were expert gardeners and knew a great deal about rose bushes, and they did. They planted Judy in rich soil with the best combination of sunshine, water, and nourishment. They kept the weeds and bugs away and handled Judy with kindness. Judy flourished and grew big and beautiful roses. And if rose bushes could feel, Judy was happy. Two other people went to the nursery and took Jim, stating they were expert gardeners and knew everything about roses. But they were really pizza kings from Chicago. They planted Jim in sandy, salty soil with too much heat in the day and too much cold in the night. They watered Jim too much and then too little, and they did nothing about the weeds and bugs. In spite of these things, Jim survived, but was wilted, stunted, and sorry looking. Jim looked across the field at Judy and saw her beauty and decided if a rose bush could decide, that the problem was he was basically defective and no damn good. Now, dear reader, if you could talk to a rose bush, I'm confident that you would say, Jim, it's not you. The experts were not experts, and it's your environment that's the problem. But to what purpose? A little rose bush couldn't walk, drive a car, or work. However, time goes by, and Jim, hook and by crook, by hook and by crook, learns to walk, talk, and drive a car and work. He pulls himself out of the crummy environment and moves to where Judy is, the rich, fertile environment. And guess what? Wrong. Jim continues to wilt and grow little, ugly roses. Jim is so convinced that he's defective that he decides, what's the use? It wouldn't do any good to even try. In addition, he carries his past environment with him and knows that the rich environment doesn't exist. Well, what can you expect from a rose bush? And there it is, all the hypnosis tied up into a pretty little bow. Yeah. You know, I was talking to somebody about how, about forgiveness, I suppose. And we were talking about the Dalai Lama and how he forgave like all of the Chinese government and how difficult that would be. And then I stopped and thought, like, maybe it's not so difficult when you're the Dalai Lama because he was Judy, right? Just raised with the perfect environment on how to love no matter what and how to have all of his needs met and stuff. Like maybe it's easier because he had such a fertile environment.
Yes. And he feeds his environment with goodness all the time. You
Yeah.
know, he is putting good thoughts in his mind. Yeah. Anyone else? Any other insight? And to me, the chapter is about metaphors, and metaphors are stories. You know, we're talking about the rose bushes, and we're talking about you know, this couple playing poker and stuff. But you know, metaphors are just stories that we can talk about, and we can get lessons from it. We can, you know, like it goes deeper as a metaphor, as a symbol, then you know, we just talk about, you know, it's like, oh, it's not you, it's your environment and how you grew up. But if you talk about rose bushes and pizza kings and monkey business, that goes deeper in our subconscious mind. And so with that, anybody would like to read the next story here? I can, all right, I'll read The Monkey Business. There once was a rhesus monkey who put into a special cage. This cage had red, yellow, and green squares. After several days, an experimenter set it up that the red squares gave off intermittent shocks, causing the monkey much pain. The monkey became anxious but soon learned to avoid the red squares. Next, the experimenter caused the red and yellow squares to give off intermittent shocks, and the monkey acted as if he was a manic depressive alternating from hyperanxiety to depression and withdrawal. The monkey soon learned to avoid the red and yellow squares, and then all the squares were electrified. The little monkey began to bite itself, beat its head against the bars, defecated on himself. You might say that the little monkey had been driven crazy. This experiment took 1 month. He was then transferred to a second cage with a white floor. Soft music was played. He was touched and held and fed. Within a short time, he calmed down, and within 2 weeks, he was playful and exploring his cage. He could not be seen as different from a monkey from a rhesus population that had been subjected to the experiment, that had not been subjected to the experiment. Well, what do you expect from a dumb monkey? He's not as smart as a man. He didn't know how to hold onto the past forever, not continue to anticipate disaster. He only knew how to adapt to changing circumstances. When he was put back into the first cage, he was anxious for 2 days, but after assuring himself that there were no shocks, he began to be as playful in that cage too. Well, as I have pointed out, monkeys aren't as smart as men, maybe just smarter than the rose bushes. If, as you read the above meta 8, a metaphor within a metaphor within a metaphor, you found yourself thinking, remembering, connecting, seeking, and understanding. It was only intended. To understand a metaphor, you must, in most cases, go into your own history, remember those situations that look similar, and remember those words. But there's no such thing as hypnosis. So it's very interesting. So yeah, like, that's what we do, well, they're saying, oh, monkey's not as is a little smarter than rose birches, but not as dumb as humans, because humans, we hold on to our trauma like forever and ever, even though it's not happening anymore. We're still living from it like it's present now. So yeah. And that's the hypnosis that we live under. Yeah. Anyone else would like to share anything on that?
I have a little more to share. I don't mean
Please.
to hog all the time.
Please do.
I was hiking in Arizona, and you guys probably all know that. And like the reason I came into this work was in 2017, I was scheduled for a total knee replacement, and I was able to cancel that total knee replacement. However, the fact that the incident happened, whenever I'm hiking, I have these little thoughts like, watch out, this could happen. You might not be walking tomorrow. And so those are all like the little monkey that he could let go of it and just act like it didn't happen, I guess. But it's like once an experience happens, whether it's a car accident or, having a baby or having a relationship, having a divorce, or like anything, once we have that past experience, then the brain just uses that as a resource. So it would be nice, I suppose, to have that monkey mind where it's like 2 weeks and it's over. We never think of it again, but it does stay in our human mind, and obviously for protection. But we can also shift it in the moment, which is good too. Now that we know Robert's work, to just be like, notice that and let it go and move forward. Seeing it the way we want it to be, move forward with the future pace, right?
Exactly. Yes, definitely. Hey, Sherry.
Mm-hmm.
And so the sentence in here, he didn't know how to hold on to the past forever or to continue anticipating disaster. I mean, that's our goal in Faster EFT, is just to let go of the past and not to continue to anticipate that it's going to be the same way that it was. I mean, and here's the monkey that just did it so easily. Well, if a monkey can do it that easy, I think I should be able to too, if I decide to. If a monkey can do it, I can do it. That's all I'm saying.
The key is in the memory, right? Like,
yes.
We know that's true, because if we're anticipating danger, we should figure out, where did we ever learn that?
And then let it go.
Yeah, right. That's a good call out, Sherry. Monkey can do it, I can do it. Just let it go.
In Robert's famous statement, it's not happening now. That's what we need to hang on. It is not happening now.
Yes, definitely. Yes, I love it. Anyone else would like to share anything? Well, we have 50 more minutes. We can jump into chapter 3. We are making good progress. Who would like to read? the first section. Everyday hypnosis learning, waking hypnosis.
Well, if nobody else wants to.
Please do, go for it.
One evening, a group of friends and I were having dinner at a local restaurant. Our waiter was very distracted and he appeared to be agitated and depressed. He was abrupt, slow, and unfriendly. As a result, our service left a great deal to be desired. Since I wanted to have an enjoyable evening, I decided to talk funny to him in order to help him feel better. As he walked by our table holding a coffee pot, I touched his arm and said, "I'm sorry that you forgot that special night with that special person whose exciting things that happened, those very warm feelings that would embarrass you to talk about it, since we are all strangers." For a moment, his face went blank. He looked up to his left. His face then lit up and he said, "How do you know about that?" He then smiled and began to laugh, and his whole attitude changed as if by magic. He said, "Wow, that was some night. I don't know how you knew about it." The next time he came to our table, I said to him, "Wasn't it simply amazing that when you remembered those happy, warm feelings, your attitude continues to change and you continue to feel better?" We received delightful service throughout the rest of the evening. What was even nicer was that as we left, he told us that we were one of the nicest parties he'd ever waited on. He also asked us to be sure to ask for him whenever we returned. Now I have absolutely no idea as to what he hallucinated, but my communication resulted in his going back into his own history. He then found an experience that filled in the blanks, and that memory helped him to change his whole attitude in a matter of seconds. Of course, there's no such thing as hypnosis, and if there is, he should have gone deeper and deeper into a trance. Powerful.
All right. The communication resulted in him going back into his own history and finding an experience that filled in the blanks for him. So he went into his own hypnosis. Anyone else want to share, Tammy?
I do. The first time I read this, I just remember thinking like, I want to be that person. Like, what is he doing there? And I think listening to Sherry read it, maybe I need to, I mean, I think I have this on Audible, but I like to hear it as well as read it. But the key to, like, I think what happened, well, I know for me, I go into my own trance. If someone has a sad story, we start, "Oh, you poor thing," and "Oh, you can do it," and like these normal placades that don't help them at all. But actually what he does is the total opposite. He just sets his mind on a reminder of a delightful event, which everyone has. We just, like, if we're just say, "Oh, sorry, you forgot that warm feeling, with your pet," or whatever, or that beautiful walk you had or something, that actually sets their mind in a whole different trajectory, which they will associate with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's what he did. He associated a good feeling with him. And then all of a sudden, he's talking about this table being so wonderful. And he just felt good around them.
I know. I wish I could just like have that quickness of like, oh, I could just say something and, like just hanging out with family and then just pull them out of their trance and bring them to a nice place. Huh? That'd be so awesome.
Yeah.
One day.
Yeah. Yeah. Because especially with family, like I tend to start going into questions into them. That feels like interrogation. And so to switch that to just like, "Oh, sorry, you forgot about our trip in Florida where we did, I mean, I know their history. I can bring them there right away."
I know.
I love this technique. I'm glad we reread that part because really that was the part that stood out in this whole book. That was my favorite little piece. Like, oh, that's what I want.
I know, definitely. I would love to be Erickson. Mary, hi. Would you like to share something?
Yeah, one of my favorite things to do to pull people out of trance, especially like cashiers and stuff, or customer service people, I'll say, "Thank you for the excellent customer service." And of course, I'm sincere and I mean it. But sometimes, I mean, you can see on their face, everything changes, you know, and sometimes you can see like, you know, are you being sarcastic, or, you know, sometimes they're grateful, or sometimes they just so happy to have someone acknowledge them, you know, as a person instead of an object. And so that's one of my favorite things to do. Just, you know, acknowledge someone, give them a smile, or, you know, thank them. Just give them gratitude. I love that. It's such a game changer for strangers and people you love too.
Thank you. Yes. I love that. Yeah. I think
think
that's really beautiful.
I think
Sherry?
the story really demonstrates the power of linking. Wow.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. Hey, Sherry.
And also, I noticed that going back to what Mary said, here in Italy, you know, I can't help it. I look like an American. And so many times there's so many tourists, you can see the look on their face like, oh my gosh, another American. And then I start speaking Italian and ask them about their day and stuff. And then they just completely change to a brand new person. It's just amazing how a little kindness and, you know, and it's not just the Italian. Well, that probably helps, but it's just being nice, you know, to people can just bam, and it's over, rather than getting all, you know, with your drawers in a wad about it, which I used to do, but now I don't because I'm a faster EFTer. So there you go. Okay.
Thank you, Sherry. You know how to put them in the hypnosis of Italian.
And you changed your own hypnosis. That just because they're grumpy or whatever doesn't mean it has anything to do with you. Yeah. So
Exactly.
we create our own future by being different. Mhm.
By putting ourselves in a better trance. Yes. All right. Who would like to read the next section? Hypnotic transactions. Sherry.
I'm sorry I volunteered. I know y'all are sick of this, but whatever. One classical definition of hypnotic suggestion is using words that cause the subject to go back in time and recover a memory that causes an emotional effect. If we accept that as a definition of hypnotic suggestion, then my communication and the waiter's response would fit very well. My communication left him with basically two choices: to ask me, what the hell was I thinking about, or to respond just as he did. I believe that these types of hypnotic transactions occur much more often than people would believe. They, hypnotic communication and responses, are even more common in an emotionally charged environment. Therapy arena is one such environment. A patient enters a therapist's office, sits down and says, I'm really down today. I went out on a date last night and my date really hurt me. The therapist responds, I understand. That really feels bad. Well, what specifically does the therapist understand? Is the therapist remembering a time when she or he was hurt because her date said, don't bother to call me, I'll call you, or I don't want to hurt you, but I'm in love with your best friend? Perhaps the patient means that his or her date hit her on the head with a hammer in response to the statement, my date really hurt me. The therapist hallucinated, filled in with pictures, feelings, and responses for his or her own history. Who is hypnotizing whom? The above transaction would come pretty close to fitting the definition of a hypnotic transaction. Oh, okay. In the therapy milieu, I don't know how you say that, it is my belief that you either use the tool called hypnosis or you will end up being hypnotized by the people who are paying you to help them. Oh, okay. Makes sense. I'm done. Good. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Sherry. Oh. Hey, Sherry.
So this is why we use the art of change questions. So we are not assuming, and we get to see what they are really thinking. So you're not projecting your stuff on them, because some of the art of change questions seem a little silly. Well, how do you know you're angry? Well, I know I'm angry because I'm angry, you know. So it just gave
Yeah.
it just a second gave me a little bit of a better appreciation for the art of change questions.
Hmm. Definitely. That's a good point, Sherry. Thank you. Yeah. And Robert says, never assume, just ask questions. Never
Yeah.
assume. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else? And Sherry Neal, we love to hear from you. We just want to make sure you don't forget English. You stay in practice with English, otherwise you will forget.
Nice to speak English. So grazie.
You're welcome. We love you. Anyone else would like to share anything on that? Hypnotic transactions. I like that, it's like the transactions occur much more often than we think, and they're even more common in the emotionally charged environments. Like if we are like transacting or having a conversation with, in the family, and it's like getting emotionally charged, then it's so easy to get sucked into that hypnosis of it. We get, yeah.
Yeah.
And yes.
And that makes me think about, when Robert talks about the pathways in the mind and how we dig those grooves down. And as us, we're not necessarily therapists, but as people come to us, like to go and say what the therapist said was, oh, I understand that feels really bad. That is actually digging the trench of that emotion and giving it more power, right? So if we just think about think how do we put them on a different path in their mind instead of this one, we're just diverting the hypnosis to a different pathway, right? But how much more effective was it for him to do that when you think of the table of people and him just being like, oh, I'm sorry you forgot this? Like how effective that could have been for this person that was the therapist to have that tool and be able to say, oh, sorry that you forgot how the opposite scenario happened, So really interesting.
Definitely interesting. Yes. Yeah. And I was thinking of something I forgot. Went into the hypnosis. But yeah, it's state change, state change. Instead of like if we continue with their state, yeah, oh yeah, I know how bad it feels. It emphasizes that state and goes deeper into that state. Can we just flip it out and go into a different state, just take them to a different place? Uh-huh.
Yeah, like in that situation, could have used almost the same thing, like, oh, I'm sorry you forgot that date. That was so amazing. And I mean, it's just such a good place to leave them in a new state of being.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Definitely.
And it's all hypnosis, right?
Hypnosis. Yeah.
Good.
That was really wonderful discussion. That was so fast, you guys. Thank you so much. This was fun. Yeah, I hope this was good for everyone. And I was like, let's do something different and new. So I'm really excited. This is a good book to reread all the time because there's so much fun stuff here. So
Did
thank you for
everybody get it
being
on
here.
Amazon?
I got mine on Amazon, yes. And Robert has a page link, and I posted that uh on the announcement. So there
Okay.
is a link from his web store as well. So you can buy it there. Yeah. So wherever you would like to buy it.
Very good. Thank you. Great
Yeah.
share
All right.
today. I love it.
Thank you. Yes, yes. Yeah, you don't have the book yet, Mary?
No, mm-mm.
Okay,
I'm a
yeah, it's
little
a
late
really
with
good
it.
book. Yeah, it's a really good book. All
Oh,
right. Good seeing
hey,
everyone. See you next week.
yeah, I'll
Bye.
show up.
So,
Thanks.
question. The book
Yes.
that we were reading right now today wasn't the manual, it was another book?
Oh, we were reading Monsters and Manual Sticks, Sasha.
Okay, that makes sense why I couldn't find anything.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Do you have the
Okay.
book?
I have the book. I just didn't know that's what I was searching for. And I'm like trying to search it on the manual and I'm like, I have
Oh my
no idea.
gosh. Yes,
Yeah.
always just yeah, just show up and raise your hand or whatever and ask questions.
So
Or-
is that the book we're gonna be reading next week as well?
yes, yes,
Okay.
definitely. Yeah, yeah. We just got to the chapter 3, so long ways to go.
Okay. Makes sense.
All right.
All right. Sounds good.
See you
Bye.
next time. Bye.
Good week. Bye, everybody.